ITC, that one's doing a relative outperformance today. Our sister channel, CNBC Awaaz, has been reporting that there could be a possible corporate action that will take place in ITC. Your take on the stock?
Afternoon, Nigel. I mean, a lot has been said about ITC the last few weeks. But again, I think till the news probably gets confirmed in the direction in which it is, and the valuation surrounding any of these news items, I think it is a futile exercise. Yes, cigarettes still contribute significantly to EBIT. The management has been putting a lot of capital in the new businesses, the new FMCG business, where the EBIT margin has been showing signs of improvement. Signs of improvement seen specifically after the last quarter in the hotel and the paperboard, as well as the agri-trading business. So unless these businesses start contributing, where some elements in the FMCG business have started delivering in terms of volume and top-line growth, I think the consistency in delivery of these businesses will define how the stock probably moves. No two ways in terms of how the valuation stack up is compared to its peers. But it still gets stuck, Nigel, in this very, very tight range. So I think let it get confirmed if there is anything positive in terms of the news coming through. I think the stock might derate, but again, I think a range-bound trade is what I see for ITC.
For ITC, what about hospital stocks? They've been inching up. Anything that you like in that pocket, Mayuresh?
So afternoon, Rima. Again, I think this space has delivered a very good set of numbers. So I think you take instance of Apollo Hospitals, Fortis, or Max Healthcare. I think all numbers have been extremely good, both in terms of the average revenue per operating bed, the utilization levels thereof. The non-COVID revenues have now started inching up. A lot of management in their con calls have actually mentioned that the non-COVID revenues and kind of surgeries, opt-out surgeries that were missing will start coming through significantly. And the average length of stay is also coming down, which probably means that the kind of capex that they're putting in bed additions, as well as the asset-light model in terms of managing the own beds, these dynamics will keep on improving over the next few quarters as well. The diagnostic part of the businesses which these hospital chain run are also showing significant signs of improvement, as well as the EBIT contribution from new hospitals as well. Yes, valuations on the higher side, but again, I think the earnings trajectory might probably get maintained. So again, anybody holding on to Apollo, hold on. Maybe you need to trail your stop losses to a tad bit. But again, I think from the fact perspective at this juncture, I think Fortis Healthcare is something that we like. The argument's very, very similar to what I put out. So again, Fortis within the hospital fact is something that we continue to like from a valuation stack as well as an earnings trajectory.
Welcome back. Well, the markets, the headline index is just moving lower. There's no stopping out there. In fact, a few names, Tata Motors that was doing relative outperformance, well, that's as well got sold into. UPL has moved to the low point of the day. L&T, that's a heavier weight out there. That's seen a bit of a downtick. And Kotak Mahindra Bank is the other one that's pulled back a little bit. We're still in conversation with Mayuresh Joshi. Mayuresh, any view on Kotak Mahindra Bank? The stock's at around 20,050 odd. For this year itself, well, it's more or less unmoved. It's pulled back though, some part of the relative underperformance. Your take on it?
Yes, Nigel, I think the stock has been having a range-bound session and the internals are not that bad. I think if you probably look at numbers, I think the advances growth was reasonable enough. If you probably look at the NIMs in fair estimates to what the street had predicted. And in asset quality pressures, I think the reported GNPAs gross stage 3 as well as the net NPAs much in line in terms of the range expected from the bank itself. So I think the larger or the broader outlook in terms of advances growth for the sector itself, Kotak will be able to do a good show on that front. As far as the asset quality and the provisioning is concerned, I think it is quite reasonably placed on both these counts. Which means that even in a rising interest rate cycle, if it comes through in the next few quarters, I think it is decently placed within the market share and the size that it operates out of. The third element obviously is in terms of the valuation that it also gets in through its subsidiaries. And they've been growing at a reasonable pace as well, Nigel. I think the asset management business, you're looking at the insurance business, and even the securities of the broking arm. So again, I think the sum of parts that the subsidiaries contribute also is quite reasonable enough. And therefore, I think the core banking business itself, I think can probably do well at this point of time. So I think it's just a matter of time. I think long-term investors can probably hold the stock, but yes, I think the range-bound trade and the move can continue.
Mayuresh, any news in power stocks? Tata Power up 2%, Power Grid, NTPC gaining 1.7%?
No particular news, Rima, but I think the entire focus for all these stocks as a big trigger going forward will be the decentralization of the electric regulations coming through. I think if that probably happens, I think it's a wide market that probably gets opened up for all these generators as well. And the entire power chain, as the government is extremely focused in terms of renewables, and as all these companies are gearing up in terms of the renewable challenge, both in terms of getting their capacities in terms of green energy up, I think benefits the entire power chain totally. Again, I think the demand coming back significantly post quarter one or the second wave that we probably witnessed, I think that would also hold out in terms of the realizations actually remaining steady for generators as well, transmitters as well, because the lines and the realizations in terms of the outlook thereof gets reflected in return ratios as well. So I think that is one big trigger that the sector is probably looking out for.
All right, Mayuresh, I'm going to throw a few stocks at you from the broader markets that are doing well. Precision Camshaft, I remember that one listed a few years ago. There was plenty of interest, but it's been a bit of a disappointment. Eveready Industries, well, that one as well is doing pretty well as we speak, though it's seen a big correction from the recent peak. And SpiceJet, any view on any of these three stocks in the broader markets? All of three of them are doing pretty well in the last half hour odd.
Maybe trading moves can continue, Nigel. I think what you've probably seen in terms of precision for the entire EV ecosystem, I think a lot of these stocks can start moving higher in anticipation of what can come through in their kitty. Similarly for SpiceJet, I think what you've probably seen in terms of crude prices, ATF prices going off, expectations in terms of new routes and so on and so forth. But there is also competition coming through. You've already heard about Rakesh Jhunjhunwala placing a big order, Air India getting revived, maybe Jet as Jyotiraj India put forth coming back into the stream. So a lot of competition coming through. So again, I think I would place these stocks under the trading category at this point of time.